I revised The Reader of the Empress 7 times, 7 complete passes through 85,000 words. After revision 6, I thought I was done. The structure was sound, the prose was clean, the motifs were balanced, everything worked. Then I read it again and found 17 problems. So I revised again. Revision 7, fixed the 17 problems, read it again. Found 9 more. At some point, you have to stop. But how do you know when that point has arrived? Welcome back to the Architect's Method. I am Luigi Pascal Rondanini, and this is episode 12, Knowing When You Are Done. This episode is about the hardest question in novel writing. Not how to write, not what to write, but when to stop. Because the truth is, a novel is never finished. It is only abandoned. Every manuscript could be revised forever. There is always something to improve. But at some point, revision becomes diminishing returns. At some point, you are polishing furniture on a sinking ship. At some point, you need to let go. The question is, how do you know when that point has arrived? Let me give you the completion criteria I use. There are 8 of them. When all 8 are met, the manuscript is done. Criterion 1. The 4-act architecture is sound. Act 1 establishes what will be disrupted. Act 2 shows the protagonist getting what they wanted and accumulating hidden cost. Act 3 shatters the illusion. Act 4 completes the transformation. If any act is weak, missing, or out of proportion, the manuscript is not done. Revision cannot be cosmetic until the skeleton is right. For The Reader of the Empress, this meant Act 1 at 16,000 words, Act 2 at 21,000, Act 3 at 22,000, Act 4 at 27,000. Proportions within target range, architecture validated. Criterion 2. Every scene carries load. There should be no decorative scenes. Every scene should advance plot, develop character, or establish essential atmosphere. If a scene exists only because it is beautiful, it is not earning its place. Run the load-bearing test on every scene. If you cannot articulate what would break if the scene were removed, consider removing it. When I reached completion, I could justify every scene. No passengers, no excess weight. Criterion 3. Motifs are balanced. Core motifs should appear in all 4 acts. They should not cluster or disappear. They should resolve at appropriate moments and not oversaturate afterward. Run the motif frequency tracker. Check distribution. Confirm that no motif appears more than 3 times after its resolution point. For The Reader of the Empress, breath resolved chapter 29, silence resolved chapter 28, mirrors resolved chapter 24. Post-resolution echoes were minimal and controlled. Criterion 4. The mirror structure is complete. The ending should echo the beginning, transformed. Key opening images should return in the closing, but with changed meaning. Read your first chapter and last chapter back to back. Do you feel the resonance? Does the transformation land? Letter to letter, visibility to invisibility, carriage arriving to carriage departing. Breath held to breath, released. The mirrors were in place. Criterion 5. Point of view is consistent. If you are writing in first person, the voice should be consistent throughout. If in third, the narrative distance should not wander unexpectedly. For The Reader of the Empress, first person throughout, with only the coda shifting to third person for Mira's perspective. That shift was deliberate and signaled. No accidental point of view drift. Criterion 6. Historical and factual details are accurate. If your novel involves research, that research should be reflected accurately. Dates, names, period details, they should all check out. This does not mean the manuscript is ready for publication. A professional fact check is still recommended, but obvious errors should be caught in your own revision. For The Reader of the Empress, Catherine's coup was 1762. The dates aligned, the court protocols were period appropriate, the historical framework was sound. Criterion 7. The prose is clean. At the sentence level, the manuscript should be free of clutter. unnecessary qualifiers removed, rhythm varied appropriately, no repeated phrases unless intentional. This is line editing. It happens after structural revision. There is no point polishing prose that might be cut for structural reasons. When I reached completion, I had done 3 passes at the prose level. Average sentence length varied. Short sentences were earned. The music was right. Criterion 8. You are making changes that do not improve anything. This is the final signal. You revise a passage. You read it again. You change it back. You change it again. You cannot tell which version is better. When your revisions become lateral rather than vertical, when you are shuffling rather than improving, you are done. Revision 7 for the reader of the Empress caught 9 problems, but some of those problems were preferences, not errors. I was rearranging furniture, not building structure. That is when I stopped. Let me talk about the trap of perfectionism. Perfectionism tells you the manuscript is never ready. There is always one more pass, one more polish, one more improvement. Perfectionism is fear wearing the mask of quality. The fear is, what if I release this and it is not good enough? What if people judge it? What if I could have made it better? The answer is, yes, it could always be better. Everything can always be better, but better is not the goal. Done is the goal. Good enough is the goal. Finished is the goal. A finished imperfect manuscript is worth infinitely more than an unfinished perfect one. Because the unfinished manuscript does not exist, it is a fantasy. The finished manuscript is real. Here is my rule. If the manuscript meets the 8 criteria, it is done. Full stop. No more revision. Time to move forward. Perfectionism will whisper that the criteria are not enough, that there are problems you have not seen, that you should do one more pass. Do not listen. If the criteria are met, you are done. Let me talk about diminishing returns. Early revisions create dramatic improvement. You fix structural problems, you cut drift material, you sharpen scenes. Each pass makes the manuscript significantly better. Late revisions create marginal improvement. You adjust a word here, a sentence there. The changes are real but small. At some point, the effort of revision exceeds the value of the improvement. That is the point of diminishing returns. That is, when you stop. I track this with a simple metric: problems found per pass. Revision 1, 112 problems, structural issues, pacing problems, character inconsistencies. Revision 2, 67 problems, scene cuts, motif adjustments, prose tightening. Revision 3, 34 problems, line editing, rhythm, dialogue, polish. Revision 4, 22 problems. Revision 5, 14 problems. Revision 6, 17 problems. Revision 7, 9 problems. The curve is clear. Each pass finds fewer problems. By revision 7, I was in single digits. The manuscript had stabilized. Could I have found more problems with revision 8? Probably. But those problems would have been even smaller. The return on investment was approaching 0. Let me give you a practical checklist for declaring completion. Run the structural diagnostic, word count per act, scene purpose mapping, motif distribution, repetition flags. If the diagnostic shows problems, address them. If it shows green across the board, proceed. Read the manuscript aloud, all of it. Yes, this takes days. Do it anyway. Your ear will catch what your eye misses. Clunky sentences, rhythm problems, dialogue that does not sound like speech. Mark problems as you read. Fix them in a final pass. Give it to beta readers, 2 or 3 trusted people who will tell you the truth. If they all flag the same problem, it is a real problem. If each flags something different, those are preferences. Address the consensus issues. Consider the individual preferences, but do not chase every piece of feedback. You cannot please everyone. Set a deadline, pick a date, write it down, tell someone. On that date, the manuscript is done. whatever state it is in, no extensions, no exceptions. Deadlines force decisions. Without a deadline, revision can continue indefinitely. The deadline makes completion real. When the deadline arrives, run the 8 criteria one final time. If they are met, you are done. Export the manuscript, save it, call it finished. Then do not open it again, not to fix one small thing, not to check one passage. It is done. Move forward. Let me talk about what comes after completion. The manuscript is done. What now? For the reader of the Empress, the answer was Stage 8, publication preparation. Professional copy editing, someone else's eyes on the prose, catching errors you cannot see because you are too close to the text. Historical fact-checking, verifying dates, names, period details with someone who specializes in the era. Query letter development, preparing the pitch for agents and publishers. Synopsis writing, condensing 85,000 words into 1 page and 3 pages. None of this is revision. The manuscript is done. These are the next stages of the journey. But you cannot reach these stages if you never stop revising. The door to publication only opens when you declare the manuscript complete. Let me address the fear directly. You are afraid the manuscript is not good enough. You are afraid you have missed something. You are afraid of judgment. Those fears are real, but they are not reasons to keep revising. The manuscript will never feel completely ready. That feeling is part of the process. Every writer experiences it. Even writers with 20 books feel it. The feeling does not mean the manuscript is not done. It means you are a writer who cares about quality. That is good, but it is also a trap if you let it prevent completion. Here is the truth. Some readers will love your book, some will not. Some will see flaws you missed. Some will praise things you worried about. You cannot control reception, you can only control completion. Finish the manuscript, send it into the world, let it be judged, then start the next one. That is the only path forward. Here is what I want you to take from this episode. A manuscript is never perfect, but it can be done. Use the 8 criteria: sound architecture, load-bearing scenes, balanced motifs, complete mirrors, consistent point of view, accurate details, clean prose, lateral revisions. When all 8 are met, you are done. Trust the criteria, resist perfectionism, set a deadline, declare completion. The architect's method is designed for this moment. Every stage, from complete vision through disciplined execution, leads here to a manuscript that meets its criteria, to work that is finished. Stage 7 ends with a first draft. The revisions that follow are still part of the process, but they have an endpoint. The criteria define that endpoint. When you meet them, you are done. Before you go, the companion workbook includes a Stage 7 completion certificate. When your manuscript meets all 8 criteria, print a certificate, sign it, mark the date. It sounds ceremonial, but it matters. Completion deserves acknowledgement. You built something, you finished it. That is worth celebrating. Link in the show notes. Next episode, the business side. We are going to talk about query letters, market positioning, and the path from finished manuscript to published book. Until then, build well.